no matter how big or small the religious events are. But if those inside don't tell us, only those outside, who are truly knowledgeable and taught by O1 through the Dhammakaya teachings, can reveal the truth. But now, many years have passed since 2017, and as the information suggests, Kyongtawan recounted that on April 22, 2018, O1 was unable to issue orders as usual because Secretary Dao had colluded with O6 to undermine his authority. Normally, Secretary Dao would relay O1's orders to whoever he instructed. But after changing his mind and cooperating with O6, O1 simply refused to follow or relay O1's instructions. As he grew stronger, he began misinterpreting or altering O1's orders, doing what O1 wanted, not what O1 desired, but what O6 wanted him to do. Of course, O1, possessing the Dhammakaya, insight, and spiritual vision, knows right from wrong. Therefore, anything O1 instructed would be meritorious, bringing happiness and prosperity. However, by having his authority usurped and his orders forged, he continued to impersonate him. This created an opportunity for others to manipulate O1's authority, finding ways to prevent such actions from happening. Since O1, being on the side of goodness, merit, and the divine, wouldn't allow something to be done, it had to be something bad. And when they went and twisted the message and gave orders themselves, it was natural that what they twisted was to make them do evil, bad, sinful things. And if O1 knew, he definitely wouldn't let them give the orders. So they didn't let O1 know, and he couldn't give the orders either. But they gave the orders among themselves. When the opportunity became clearer, they appointed a new committee, announcing it at the temple on December 26, 2018. There was a new committee with O2, O6, and others. And they started inviting people to join, using the transformed message to replace O1, who at the time the real O1 used the name Dao Songsan. But after the new committee came into power, the message that the real O1 couldn't give started to someone's name appearing repeatedly, starting from April 22, 2018. If anyone noticed, they would know that this was true. It seems that O1 couldn't give orders from that time on. Then, at the end of 2018, when the new committee came out, the name of O6, or Fra Maha Dr. Samchai, was included. It's equivalent to them seizing power from O1 completely, without O1 being able to give any orders while in the temple. What they did was raise funds to protect themselves. There was news on September 23, 2018, from Manager Online, saying that this group, led by laypeople, had formed a group to hunt down moles, aiming to file charges against 7 monks accused of corruption. The news reported that the Anti-Money Laundering Office, AMLO, had found evidence of embezzlement of donations by these 7 monks. The information was detailed, including the monks' names, appearances, and positions. The news detailed the accusations and the charges against the 7 monks. It was a very detailed account. However, they were eventually silenced. It was revealed that someone saw one of the group members being escorted behind a building in a temple by security guards. After that, he disappeared for a month before returning to pursue the mole they had been hunting, which included Fra Maha Samchai, also known as O6. They then accused another monk, one who had access to the Dhammakaya sect, specifically O4, or Luang Nachana. Even today, we see Luang Nachana. He is the head monk who leads the weekly meditation sessions and major merit-making events. He is pure in his dharma, which is okay. Before that, there were reports that he oversaw public utilities and construction at the temple. There was a possibility that he could have embezzled the difference in bids for his own benefit. However, as far as I know, he did do that, but he donated the difference entirely to Luang Por, Venerable Father Dhammacheo. He did not hide it or keep any of it as personal property. You have to look at the intention. People judge whether something is cheating or not, merit or sin, based primarily on the intention. They don't look at the action itself and say, this action is merit, this action is sin. That's not the case. Merit and sin are judged by intention. Intention is the primary factor. Therefore, in the case of 04, the analysis showed that he acted with pure intentions. He conducted the bidding for contractors openly, and when he received any difference in bids, he accepted it to donate to laypeople Damacheo. He did it openly and didn't hide anything. Meanwhile, Mr. A's group went to check and said there was a lot of evidence of embezzlement. They accused 04 of cheating more than 06. But it all ended because 04 didn't have that intention, so there was no sin, and 04 attained the Dhammakaya. Therefore, by accessing the Dhammakaya, any negative karmic consequences will be completely purified. This allows you to remain pure every day. No karmic consequence can harm you. If you maintain a pure and clear heart, you can consistently hold the position of head monk in terms of meditation every Sunday and accumulate great merit. No one else can do that for you. In that sense, when Mr. I's group changed their target to attack 04, it was ineffective. Ultimately, they had to give up and disband. However, within the temple, regarding 06 and what they did that became news on September 23, 2018, they pretended to have transferred or reassigned the monks involved. Mr. I's group then reported that their pressure to remove the worms from their positions in the temple was successful, and they ended their mission. But in reality, each person remained. After a while, they returned to their original positions and continued their policies, even though they had initially banded together to raise money. This is a precautionary measure. According to information from someone who knows the truth, they felt they couldn't tolerate it anymore. They saw the 7 monks, including Luang-Fur Thadachivo, also known as 02, whose financial transactions were traced by the Anti-Money Laundering Office, AMLO, as embezzlement of temple donations. Inside sources say that 06 instructed these 7 monks to confess to the fraud, acting on the policy of Chairman 01. This meant they wanted to implicate 01, Luang-Fur Damacheo, as the sole culprit, thus protecting themselves. They argued that if 01 possessed the power of the Dhammakaya meditation technique and could levitate, the authorities couldn't find him even after searching the temple for 3 days. This shows that unless Luang-Fur surrendered, no one could arrest him. Therefore, by implicating Luang-Fur alone, they and the temple would be safe. Even if Luang-Fur's reputation is damaged, the faith of the devotees won't change easily. So, to put it simply, they let the abbot take all the blame alone. It became a matter of the 6 monks agreeing to it and going to give their testimony, individually. Each of them gave their own testimony, but they all said the same thing: that they followed the policy or orders of 01. This gave them the right to be witnesses and incriminate 01. But they had to find 100 million baht each for their bail. And how did they raise the money? They started a new project, using a similar phrasing as Abbot Damacheo, but under the name of someone else, at the end of 2018. It was a fundraising campaign to cover the dome of the Mahadhammakaya Chedi with gold leaf to make it shine brightly. But it was a case of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Firstly, they got the money, and secondly, they used the methods of the dark side, namely black magic and sorcery, to defile the pagoda and prevent the attainment of nirvana. They made it impure. This act of defilement is a technique of that side. But today, it's cleaned up. The virtuous side is making efforts to clean it up, because Luang-Fur Damacheo loves his followers. Even though on February 2nd he saw that they, led by 06, had arranged with the authorities to raid the temple to arrest him and 01. Because they had 7 monks as witnesses and complete evidence that these 7 monks had embezzled donations. He foresaw this. But what he saw even more seriously was that after they raided the temple, if they didn't find him, they would chase everyone out, shut down the temple, and seize it permanently. He realized that if that happened, where would the more than 3,000 people living in his temple, his disciples, laymen, laywomen, and staff, go? They would have nowhere to live and nothing to eat. What would they do? So he decided it would be better for him to leave the temple himself, so that everyone could still have a place to live and nothing to eat. And, regarding the misunderstanding, there was still time to clarify things. Therefore, he wrote a short letter and provided guidelines for someone to deliver to 06. It was clear that since he had already left the temple, there was no need to bring people to storm it, wasting time and money. 06 believed this based on the information. They knew that 01 was no longer at the temple. Of course, the secretary, the mastermind, also knew that Luang Fur Damacheo was no longer at the temple. It all went according to their plan. Since Luang Fur had left, they didn't need to bring anyone to evict, seize, or close the temple. They could just seize it without Luang Fur being there, using his name. However, at that time, there were limitations. They couldn't use Luang Fur's name or call him by his name. Initially, we didn't know the reason. But later we learned that there were individuals involved, the purple higher-ups who disliked and didn't want to hear that name. There were also rumors that the purple higher-ups had previously requested something. Seeing how successful Luang Fur Damacheo was in soliciting donations and building things worth billions of baht, they wanted a share, but Luang Fur 01, or Luang Fur Damacheo, refused, saying that the money donated by the devotees for merit-making was for the attainment of nirvana, and it shouldn't be given to anyone else to use. Those people would only be committing sins. Because of the venerable monk's compassion, he didn't give them a single baht. He said that if he gave, he would be wrong and sinful, but his own sin wouldn't be as great as causing others to sin. Because if he gave to one person, others would use that reason and ask for money. If he gave to one person, he would be able to give to others, and it would become a bigger sin, a wrongdoing. When you do something wrong, you can't do it, it's a sin. You can see how far the sin extends. And the sin associated with Wat Phra Dhammakaya, which is a temple of the suppressive faction, is very serious. It's not like the ordinary compassionate faction. When someone does something wrong, they follow the rules of the benevolent faction. But in the punitive faction, there are no rules. When there are no rules, the punishment is very severe. Therefore, the abbot saw this, so he wasn't decisive and didn't give absolute permission. But his refusal caused those who weren't given permission to become angry, resentful, and even to the point of not wanting to hear the name or see the face. There was even an order to remove all images of Luang Por Damacheo from the temple, from books, media, or any photographs. They were forbidden from seeing or using his name. That's why the name of someone kept coming up. Eventually, they didn't need to mention anyone's name anymore. But the people in the temple knew it was probably Luang Por because of the way it was phrased. But that's the thing, it's impossible, but people wanted to believe it themselves, thinking, maybe it's him, because their love and longing for Luang Por Damacheo blinded them, preventing them from using their intellect and reason. They didn't want to believe that the monks in Wat Phra Dhammakaya, from 02 downwards, who weren't Luang Por, could be on the opposite side of Luang Por Damacheo. They didn't believe others, but they believed 02. Someone who co-built the temple with 01 wouldn't betray him, right? But now, with the numerous news reports and the efforts of temple members to seek the truth on 2 or 3 issues since the end of last year, specifically December 14th, we saw the news from Tawan Dhamma station reporting that someone tried to ask Luang Por Tatachivo if Luang Por Damacheo was in the temple.